Hello, everyone. I am Chief Solutionist David Don Hobley with Wealth Connections Live, and we have a super treat for you today. Today, we have a really awesome guest that is going to deliver a whole lot of value to you. Joining us today is co-host and digital success strategist Jay Ma. She's with Anthony Delmedico, the founder and CEO of MVG at the Speakeasy Lounge and MVG Studios. Anthony is a Gulf War veteran turned MBA grad. Anthony built Abelard Construction from his basement to a $173 million empire in under 12 years. He's the mastermind behind Storm Ventures Group and the hit book, Win the Game. He's also created the groundbreaking SVG University, training thousands of contractors nationwide. Now, as the visionary of My Ventures Group, he's here to share alternative fix and flip options for wealth building. Grab your pencil and paper and get ready for insights that help you to connect, thrive, and multiply.
Wow, that was a great intro.
Yeah. Welcome, everyone. So we have here Anthony, and I'm going to have him get started if he wants to first say something about himself. But the very first question we have a lot of value for you today. If you're tuning in live, hashtag live. If you're watching replay, watch hashtag replay, and feel free to share also. Firstly, Anthony, first question is, what is one mindset shift that's driven your success from military to millions?
That's a good one. Well, I think for the military guys watching this right now, they know that the military is a left brain mindset. Mm-hmm. When I grew up, I was a little more creative, and I went to military after high school, basically to stay out of trouble and get money for the Army College Fund. But, went overseas for 3 years and really went through, the discipline and learning SOPs and how to structure your life. So discipline's number one. But, getting out of the military years later, that structured lifestyle can sometimes work against you in marketing. So you got to shift back to right-brained activities, especially in the marketing and entrepreneurial space. So I think both skill sets are important, being disciplined, analytical, and then, as an entrepreneur, trying to retain your creativity.
Yeah.
That was a shift getting out, was getting back to that.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that as a college math professor of many years and then jumping into the entrepreneurial space. If you relate, also hashtag relate below. So thanks for sharing that. Now, we want to also know what sparked your focus on alternative fix and flip options with My Venture Group's MVG group right here. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, about 20 years ago, I got into the post-military. I got into the roofing storm restoration space. So Abelard Construction was a company I founded in my basement. Wow. With a couple of my buddies, started in Minnesota. We ended up growing it to 10 states, brick and mortar. Wow. So we were heavy into the storm restoration space, rebuilding communities after large storms and catastrophic events. And eventually, 12 years after that, I sold that company and then moved into the consulting, digital, and training space for contractors. In that last, 10 years, there's been a lot of real estate opportunities. Let me bring it back to 2008, 2009, 2010, when the housing recession hit. That's the first time I started buying properties in the fix and flip space. Wow. You could get properties back then for a very low amount of money because people were scared.
That was the
we happened to be plush with cash at the time because we were, storm restoration industry is recession proof. So I took advantage of that, and bought some of those properties, fixed them up. Fast forward now to today, I understand a little bit better how to use the assignment of claim, which allows you to buy, storm damaged properties and take on the seller's insurance benefits as part of that transaction. I didn't understand that back then, but I started playing around with a few of those back then. And as the years went on, it became more and more. And searching for storm damaged properties versus just older properties that need a repair. I'm sure anybody watching this right now knows that storms and catastrophic events have increased exponentially over the last 10, 15, 20 years. Every year, that's a record firestorm, record hailstorm, record hurricane season. In the insurance, the insurance restoration industry is a $100 billion industry, and that money is set aside to rebuild properties. So I don't even consider myself a traditional fix and flipper, but as a property investor looking at opportunities, I find that the storm damage space, that niche, they're obviously damaged properties, but in a lot of cases they have, most of them have insurance coverage, insurance policies. So if you search those type of properties out after a storm, you're going to find that they still have coverage, usually within 1 to 2 years of date of loss. And if you find motivated sellers that are sitting on storm damaged properties and know how to use that assignment of claim as a legal instrument in a real estate purchase agreement, you can now take those benefits of that build back, you know, if they have insurance, most of them do, and take the benefits as the buyer. And that's the boot camp you guys went to here a couple weeks ago. And you noticed, as much as I did, a lot of realtors, a lot of property investors, a lot of traditional fix and flippers aren't aware of how to use an assignment of claim, or even that it exists and they could do this. And I bet they wish they would have.
I know.
Because they've been buying properties, as we found out through some of the attendees. But assignment of claim is nothing new. It's been around since the 30s. You know, somebody buys a property with that has insurance coverage and some kind of coverage. Those benefits can pass on to the buyer. It's just it probably hasn't been used as a tool or a curriculum so much as of recently, you know, when we launched the Rehab and Flip Boot Camp, and more people are starting to learn about that. Storms ain't going away anytime soon, and I don't think property investors are going away anytime soon. So bringing those two things together can create a really exciting opportunity in the rehab and flip space, or rehab and hold, whatever you're doing with the property.
Yes, definitely. It was a really neat boot camp because Anthony also took us to the properties with the team, and firsthand he went on calls, and that was part of the experience that I think that we don't find in many trainings. It's more coming from the traditional classroom. It's more of just books and textbooks and things like that. So firsthand, that was a very valuable experience. I believe just that little piece alone is worth like in the 7 figures and above. So
that's the old military. So instead of just talking about let's go out and like touch and feel these properties. So what she's talking about, guys, is day one in the boot camp. We come in here in the studio, and we do the traditional curriculum. We're bringing the policyholder, attorney, public adjuster, people that understand the claim space, how to find these properties, how to deal with the claim when a seller does have an open claim and hasn't built it back. So there's certain professionals in that network that you might want to tap into. But then the next day, instead of talking about it in here, let's go out and look at them. There's plenty of them. There's hundreds for sale right now up and down the coast here, west coast of Florida, that are damaged by both Hurricane Helene, Hurricane Milton, and a lot of those properties still have open claims. And so just connecting the property investors with those properties and understanding how to use that assignment of claim. That was day 2. It's going out there and actually calling those realtors and calling those sellers. They're like, assignment of claim, and I know I could do that. Yeah, you can.
That was really eye-opening for me from someone who never went into that space. But now seeing it firsthand, I actually feel like it's doable, because now you're not just working by yourself and thinking that you don't have enough knowledge, you don't have enough income or earnings or credit or anything like that. So now this leads us into the networking piece of this. You had a lot of different people from different backgrounds here. How can networking help investors find better deals and partners in today's market?
Well, I think if you look, like the properties we looked at on day 2 were off the MLS, and they had, you know, the realtor search for them. You can query certain codes and find, you know, they often say, hey, this is a storm damaged property, selling at a discount. That's just what's on the MLS, though. So there's a lot of property owners out there that probably want to list their house right after a storm, but don't think they can, like this one. This property here, this is a 4-acre property, the historic log cabin. We're inside a helicopter hangar.
Awesome.
This was a 905,000 policy limits claim property. So when I bought this 1 week after Hurricane Ian, the seller was literally in a sleeping trailer that Farmers Insurance put her in the lot here. She was already in contract to buy or build a home up in South Carolina. The last thing she wanted to do is spend a year and rebuild this property. So that would have caused a problem with her other contracts. So she was very happy to do the assignment of claim and let me take that on and rebuild the property. How I found this property, get back to your point, wasn't through the MLS. She had just taken her property off the MLS, as people often do after major storms, not thinking that they can actually sell their property in that condition, or they would actually not get the value. She was able to get most of the value that she wanted to sell it through me, because I understood the assignment of claim and I knew I could get those benefits transferred on. And this, I think at the time that I bought it, hers was at 130 and it ended up going to 905, and then we rebuilt the log cabin, and then much of what you see in here today, minus the upgrades that you see, that was out of pocket. But that was from canvassing, now being in the storm environment with a team. At the time I was filming a a shrink wrap course for a client. We do a lot of film and digital marketing still in the storm catastrophe space. And so we were shrinking a course, and she definitely needed shrink wrap on this property. So we were basically going through neighborhoods and checking out different types of damage, and came upon her sitting in her yard. So a lot of this, the best deals on the assignment of claim space would probably be in the first 30, 60, 90 days after a major storm event. We're going to find a motivated seller. We're going to sign most of that claim money that still hasn't been spent on the rebuild.
Right.
But you can still find these deals today up along the west coast of Florida. Here it is 6 months later. You can find deals up to 2 years after date of loss. So some of that's being connected with contractors that are in the storm restoration space, as you saw some of those guys here in the booth. Some realtors that might understand this space, but a lot of them don't, unfortunately. But I think more are going to learn about it. There are some that are starting to come on to what that means and how to use it, which really helps the
Especially
buyer.
when you teach them too.
Yeah. I think some more fix and flippers are starting to understand this, but I think your best bet would probably be to network with storm restoration contractors and first responders that are in these communities right after major catastrophes. And that's your shrink wrap companies, your tree removal companies, your contractors. They're right there in the heat of the moment. And like I said, a lot of those properties take their properties off the market that were for sale before the storm, not understanding they could pass that claim and that build back onto a new buyer, and probably not understand there's buyers like me that'd be willing to take those.
Yeah. What I like about it is Anthony's turned it into a really beautiful, like multiple use space, and the creative use of the space with outside. He's also added a little piece of his office, right, and a little office in the background. So he's made it like into this just a really beautiful piece of property that has a lot of value just in itself without the land component of it. And the other piece that at first I was just thinking, isn't that like just, taking advantage of someone when someone is down? But at the same time, when I saw it, it was a different piece. I saw the light. It was like giving someone hope. Otherwise, they might not even know, they might be stuck, and they might not even have another option that they're aware of, that they have to move into another property like this lady did. So I really do like the part that it can be a win-win for both people.
Yeah, now that I remember, she actually had a build going on. So she was building a house, I think about it, in South Carolina. So she was kind of stuck moving to that location, and then really couldn't stay here for a year and a half to do the rebuild. So there's a lot of people in that situation. And you think about the fire losses on the West Coast, the horrible fires in California. I'm sure there's some people that maybe had half their house, or maybe all of it burned, maybe not all of it burned down, but substantial damage. There's probably some folks there, and maybe they had some bad memories. Maybe they want to get the heck out of there. And maybe you could take their claim over and rebuild that. You got the floods in the south and the southeast. This last 6 months, you got just a lot of catastrophes. So it may seem that way, but it's truly helping some of those people move on to greener pastures. And again, there's some people that actually like doing that kind of work. They call them crazy people. In the rehab and flip space, and there's people that understand the insurance claim part of that. And I think marrying those two together makes a great opportunity. It's a win-win-win for everybody.
I love that. Yeah, it is definitely giving that option to someone who might not otherwise know that they have an option. So as far as the creative finance side, I learned a bit too, just this last two boot camps. I would not have even thought about it with the creative finance for fix and flips. What is that? Can you share a little bit more about that part of it?
Well, there's a pretty healthy market of fix and flip loans and lenders. Some, they're private money. Some they call them hard money lenders, but there's a lot of fix and flip lenders out there that will do 60 or 70% loan to value. So if you find a property like that, they care about your credit score a little bit, but not as much, because they're taking a first party position in the house, and then they have a balloon payment 2 years. So there's a lot of people that could apply and be eligible for that in this space. If you combine that, if you don't have the cash with taking on the claim itself, in some cases, you have the claim for the build back money. In some cases, if you structure your closing and your escrow language correctly, you can float ACV distributions and supplements from the seller's insurance company into escrow to help you buy the property. Now, that would have to be a substantial amount of damage in order to actually buy a property. Like in this situation here, where you're able to float, I think it was $130,000 into escrow from the seller's insurance company to help lower the cash outlay that I had to pay to buy the property. So in some cases that works out, in some cases it don't. In some cases it would come later for the build back. In some situations you can tap into that insurance and float some of that into escrow to help buy the property, depending on how you structure that closing language. And you definitely got to put that in a statement in your escrow that you want that money distributed to escrow to contribute towards the close. Don't leave that out. Stick the check in the safe and wait till you close on it. But that's one way. I think that combined with the abundance of fix and flip loan companies out there makes this a incredible opportunity, you know, for any entrepreneurs looking at getting in this space. It's a matter of finding the right deal, finding the right property. Do they have the right policy coverage? How much of that did they use to build back? Maybe they didn't do nothing, like the properties that we saw. They were all gutted, but nobody's done any build back. So, you know, there's insurance monies there. And then having some connections with some of these fix and flip lenders if you don't have your own cash to, you know, buy it. The best is you've got your own cash, you know, any interest rates. But, you know, in some cases people don't have that. So, but they're out there.
Yeah. So this is my personal question is like, can someone really go into property with like zero down and poor credit? Because that's a lot of the questions I see on the when I go, you know, researching real estate. Have you ever seen that?
Yes, well, it's possible. Again, I think if you focused on storm damaged properties in the early part of the catastrophe, not a year later, because what happens right after a storm is someone's going to get a check. Insurance adjuster comes out, like in this case, they wrote it up for $330,000, and they issued $130,000 actual cash value check. That happened within 2 weeks of the storm. She didn't use that check to start anything because she didn't want to do the build back, and she was wondering what she was going to do. So in that case, we were able to float that 130 into escrow. That certainly wasn't enough to buy the whole property, but it helped reduce the cash outlay. That's one method, but the other is accessing those fix and flip lenders. So if you have no cash of your own, at the end of the day, the seller only cares if you come up with the money at close. They don't care how you get it. So if you focused on storm damaged properties, the assignment of claim, and really got in the early part of the catastrophes, that's going to reduce your cash outlay by utilizing some of the insurance monies to float in and help buy that property. Combine that with a fix and flip loan, and you in a sense just bought your first property at no out of pocket.
Yeah. So there are many options, and Anthony would be your guide to go to ask for those kinds of questions if you have any questions there. Now, there is another question that I have is, what is one profit killing mistake in the fix and flip space?
You're looking at it right here. Falling in love with your own property. The biggest one. Doing stuff like this. You know, I upgraded this helicopter hangar with, you know, this is probably $300,000-400,000 upgrades I did above and beyond. This structure was only insured to $70,000. I got maxed out. So, you know, I was going to flip this a year ago, but, you know, the rebuild in Florida took a little longer than I anticipated. I ended up moving in. I fell in love with the property. So rehab and flip became rehab and hold.
It's very nice.
Recently being at the, you know, the market's starting to flatten out, as you know, in Florida. So I decided just to list this just to see, kind of put some feelers out there. You know, we just listed it for 1.2, and we already got, you know, we had an offer last Friday, got an offer. So I would say, you know, if you want to go out and do this as a business model, don't fall in love with the property and start doing crazy upgrades like I did. But unless you're going to live there, and be willing to let that go. Because at some point you're gonna need that cash. You know, in this one we did all cash. So for me, when I sell this, you know, they call it a cash out. That's money I can deploy to you know, better areas right now and opportunities, especially with the market where it's going. So it just felt like the right time.
Yes. It's not hard to fall in love with this property. The first time I walked into here, I already wanted to stay. I was like, why can't you just keep it? Yeah, it is very, very nice the way that he fixed it up.
Well, if I don't like the offer, I may keep it. You never know. It's, you know, you never know where they're going to come. I haven't seen it yet. It's on its way. So.
Okay. Well, let's see who will actually make the offer, and maybe
I'll entertain some other ones. Somebody wants to come look at it. It's a beautiful spot.
Yeah, it is very, very nice. But he has so much talent and creativity. I believe everywhere he goes, he'll make it very nice and beautiful. So I'm excited for your next property wherever you go, because it's really, I've never seen anything like this, a space like this.
This is very unique because I was working on the you know, the documentary on Constitutional. And I was using this as a space to get away and work, and kind of built the studio around that. And I had some initial investors for the film come in here and stuff like that. So there were other reasons to do what I did here besides that. But I would highly recommend not doing that in the fix and flip space. And if you're new, you really want to focus on that 200,000 to 500,000 bracket, not the $1 million bracket like this one in your first flip. That's where the volume is. The house chart is much greater, obviously, in the 200 to 500 range, especially if you're newer. Those ranges tend to flip a lot faster. There's less you have to put into them. It gets, as you get up in home value, it becomes riskier on the turn.
Yeah, I can see why most median income, there's more of that right now, homes that people can afford to get into. So I love that you also have this other part of the studio. Maybe you'll see it in the Reels section for your digital marketing needs, and you help other businesses with their digital marketing needs. So have you used that technology to find maybe fix and flip investors, or how have you used it to give you an edge?
I haven't. Good question, because we got a green room over here, we got a podcast room, we got a whiteboard room, we got a full stage here. I've used this mainly for boot camp training. You see, we can seat 100 here. We got a full stage, lighting up here, but bringing folks in and doing, we do run digital marketing campaigns out of here, but I haven't really, other than bringing folks in to learn about the boot camp, I haven't really gone after property owners in the digital space, or because this one consumes so much of my time, I didn't really have the appetite. So now once I sell this, I'll have an appetite maybe to jump back in again. But certainly could use digital marketing to find these type of leads, and especially right after storms and catastrophic events, when people are taking their homes off the market and they have these damaged properties and not understanding they could pass that assignment on to somebody that's willing to buy. And there's buyers that would probably want to do that if they understand how to use the assignment. I think there's a niche there, not just here in Florida, but nationwide. Again, because of the increased storms, catastrophic events, and that could be a space for digital marketing. And I think there's a potential space to bring realtors, property investors, fix and flippers, and storm restoration contractors all under one roof. And maybe a larger boot camp, maybe a conference, because it's such an important deal. And as this housing market continues, we need a correction. There should be some kind of correction that happens every 15, 20 years. It's going to be a tremendous opportunity for people to understand that. Combine that with the storm opportunity. I think it's two things that you could get a lot of people together to really work on this nationwide. And really, at the end of the day, you're helping the communities recover faster. That's what you got to think of it as, helping people recover faster.
It is, definitely. So I actually can see now, when you just said that, a bigger conference and event here, bring all these talents and people together, resources.
Maybe an annual trade show.
That would be fun. That would be amazing. I'm very grateful, because I would not have otherwise known this information. It's a very, I think for me, it was a very unique space, because seeing real estate events and trainings, I haven't been to one where it's specific to the insurance part of it. So I have so many other questions, but I also learned with the tech side that we can also, you brought in some speakers here that did use the estimates and things like that to help you mitigate maybe your loss before you buy a property to get through all that.
So one of the speakers was a well-known policyholder attorney here in Florida, Candace Colucci out of Tampa. If you're going to buy a property with storm damage, before you make an offer, the one thing you got to get is you got to get a copy of their policy. Here you should get a copy of their flood policy and their regular homeowner's wind policy, which would be their homeowner's policy for Milton. Two separate policies. Some people have both, some people have one. Not everybody has flood policy. Most people have a homeowner's policy, but you have to get that and understand what does it cover. And someone like that you can tap into. She'll help you interpret that policy at no charge. And that way hey, do they have code upgrade? They call it law and ordinance. Do they have coverage of a certain name? Do they have an RCB policy versus ACB? Most of them are RCB. Some are ACB only. So you want to know that stuff before you even think about making an offer. And then, okay, how much coverage is left on the build back? How much damage is really here? A lot of insurance companies know, I'm not going to rip on insurance companies, but lately, the last 5 years, they've been undercutting people and paying less than what they should. I think that's common knowledge. And so they call it supplementing. Like when I came in on this claim, I could tell right away it was at $330,000 within 15 minutes of walking around the property. In my mind, of insurance statutes in the state of Florida, you're talking about code upgrade, line of sight, discontinued products, the wood that was wet, the tongue groove ceilings that were wet in there, and how when water touched it has to be replaced per standards for all kinds of reasons. I saw a $700,000 or $800,000 claim in 15 minutes. So that comes from 20 years of experience. Now somebody has to write that up and exactimate and present that back to the insurance company with supporting documentation to show why this is. And a lot of times when you start pulling things out in the property, like this one had plumbing, electrical, rooms, kitchens that need to be redone, new roof, trusses, decking, in the log cabin, things, you find out more things as you pull things out that an adjuster cannot possibly see in a 1 hour visit. I know that. And these are called supplement items or open items. And when in this one, when I saw the original adjuster's estimate, he had a lot of open items. So he knew when we started tearing stuff out in here, there's going to be a supplement of a major amount. And that's nice when they're expecting it. And it didn't happen right away. It still took a year to go from $330,000 to $905,000 policy limits claim. But that came with understanding how to read the policy, and then how to write exactament, which is the insurance company's estimating program. So those two things are crucial in evaluating the property in terms of what is the real damage, and then also understanding their policy, what is covered. If you have those two things, those are the speakers they met here today. So just having some of those people in your hip pocket to help evaluate that claim, write the claim as it should, understand the policy, would make you as an investor very astute in making an offer based on X. But without those things, you'd really be winging it.
Yeah, Anthony's, from what I see, it's like he's the go-to guy. If someone has a question or something comes up, he has a list of people on his Rolodex. So
you don't have to know everything. We can call to get the answer.
That's really great at that. Yeah. So in business-wise, because you have a vast, field, a range of experience in the entrepreneurship side. What is a heart-centered principle that keeps you thriving through all these challenges?
Oh, there's a lot of them. I think the number one is having to feed people.
Yeah, family. Yummy food.
Funds, kids, clothes, food, groceries gone up. So number one is being able to provide for others. I think most, early in my early days as an entrepreneur, coming out of the military before I had kids and stuff, it was all about, I want the shiny car, I want the watch, I want the nice house. You go through that phase in your 20s and 30s. I think later in life it becomes about just being able to provide for people around you that need help.
Yeah.
And that puts you in a good spot. That motivates me now. I've already gone through the shiny object phase, so to say.
Yeah.
And now it's about being able to, make sure college funds are paid. And people are taken care of, and people have jobs. People rely on you for jobs. It makes you wake up. You might be demotivated, not so motivated about your own company and what you're doing some days. You realize that people are relying on you for paychecks, and you got to get up for that. So.
I know you also help some of the college students, so that's really nice. I wish I had an opportunity to even intern with someone like Anthony in my college days. Probably would change my trajectory.
I think I'm mean.
Yeah.
You like the military still.
It's good training. It's boot camp.
Good for you.
Definitely boot camp, because he made us walk too during his boot camp. We had to get up early and go for a walk. Yeah, sweating and everything. It's real boot camp, but he definitely fed us good. That was not expected either. He didn't have to do that, but that was nice. So how can someone multiply their fix and flip success with the team or system?
Yeah, I think you should have a team. I think, again, if we're talking about the niche that I'm talking about, which is storm damaged properties, where you're going to find the best deals, and you're going to find insurance coverage on the seller that could possibly benefit you as the buyer to build that property back. That's called free money, by the way. And I don't know why anybody would pass that up. I mean, we've had guys that in our boot camps have been doing fix and flips for 20 years, back and forth from either South Dakota in here or Texas in here. They come out here to buy storm damaged properties, and they never knew they could use the, they got them at a discount, but they could have also got the assignment of claim, and they said, man, I missed out on hundreds of thousands of dollars that they probably got. And they just never asked the question. Hey, did you file a claim? Do you have insurance? And how to use that assignment of claim that we gave you guys that template. It has to be, part of the real estate purchase agreement. It has to be written a certain way. It's not that complicated, but if you don't know about it, don't use it, you're never going to get the assignment. So having somebody, once you understand that module, having a team, maybe a policyholder attorney, maybe a public adjuster, or even a storm restoration contractor that knows how to write Xactimate, knows how to evaluate wind damage, storm damage, flood damage. Those people are crucial to understand what you're sitting on, because an outside investor or a traditional contractor, fix and flipper, or if you're not in the claim space, you wouldn't know what you're sitting on. No. So you have to know what is it? What are you sitting on there in terms of an insurance claim? So you either have to have a policyholder attorney, public adjuster, or just a contractor that really understands that space. Any one of those people would be helpful. Yeah. I have all three. Yeah. And if it's very complicated, I've been in this business 22 years as a contractor. Wow. But on a very complicated claim property like this one, I might throw the policy still over to Candace or one of these other policyholder attorneys. Hey, can you double check everything? Because they made it so hard to read these policies. They're like this thick. Section 1D on page 99 might say something you don't like, and you got to understand that whole thing. So unless you like to read very closely with a magnifying glass, you might want to have somebody else take a look at it. A policyholder attorney is going to be your best person to have in your pocket on one of those as part of your team. And then maybe, again, a storm contractor who really understands the GC space, or a public adjuster, or somebody that might really want to get in there and examine what that potential is of damage and what that means in terms of claim proceeds. In the Xactimate estimating program and that's what the insurance companies use. Those are vital people on your team for this space. Anyway. Yeah.
And investors?
Investors? Everybody likes investors. There's a couple of people that came to this boot camp, and then there's one guy that didn't make it. I think there's people out there, you got to stay networked, that have money, but they don't want to go find the properties. They don't want to go look after the storm. They don't want to go visit them. They don't want to manage the rebuild, but they want to deploy their money. And some of those people were here at boot camp at this one, the last one, and you have to connect, and that comes with networking. You got to show up and connect. Those type of people are out there sniffing around too. They might not be on the front lines. They might be managing the rebuild, but they do want to deploy their money. And that's you can go after the traditional fix and flip loan companies. You can just Google that. They're all over the internet. Once you call them, they'll call you. 20 of them call you back forever. Trust me. But they might not always be the best source. There are other people, individuals also that have money to deploy.
Yes.
We talked about forming a REIT in the last group. A couple guys and gals getting together, and maybe it is maybe it's a commercial property. There's a nursing home out there for sale that had a lot of damage. You can use these on commercial properties. They want to sell it. They didn't do the build back. There's probably, there's a couple $1 million of coverage there. But to me, that would take a team. Maybe myself, another person. I wouldn't want to do that one on my own. Maybe 3 or 4 people going up. That would be a REIT. You'd call it a REIT, I guess, a real estate investment trust. So it's a small group of people going after these. That could become a business model for groups of people, or, sometimes it's more fun to do these things as a small group. But, the key there is not, later on, usually people fight over money too.
Oh,
Make that very clear in the op agreement. Who's doing what? I'm the money guy.
Great tip there.
I'm the guy that's managing the bill. And I'm the one that's dealing with the insurance claim or whatever. And then I'm putting in X, because if you don't spell that out in the op agreement, now you're arguing over money later on when you sell it.
Speaking from experience right here, I'm learning more that also there's some tax benefits to investing in real estate versus maybe the stock space or other investments, or you're having your money sit there in the bank. So do you find people going into real estate because of some tax benefits?
Well, there's always, whenever you run your own business, period, there's always tax benefits that are not available to the average employee, so to say. So as an independent contractor, LLC, sole proprietor, you got tax benefits. So, in the flip space, there's a lot of tax deductions you can take on certain aspects of that property, not buying it because you're buying an asset, but the expenses that go into it and stuff like that, and then offset that later on. But one of the ones that most people don't know about is, and it's really for, if you're in the commercial real estate space, not residential, is section 179, which is for capital improvements. Right. Okay, so take that nursing home I just told you about up there for sale. If I bought that property, now it needs a new roof, right? It needs a whole lot of other things. We can start with the roof first, because it's leaking. If I bought that property, I'm now a commercial building owner. if I replace that roof, let's say it's $1 million roof, Section 179, which is a change since 2018, but nobody seems to know about it, but I talked to, allows me as the commercial building owner to deduct 100% of that roof. Let's say it's 1 million.
Yeah.
It's up to 1.16 million per building.
Wow.
Okay, is what this
Wow.
deduction. It used to have to be depreciated over 39 years. And most CPAs still think it has to be depreciated over 39 years. Capital improvements on the exterior building envelope, so HVAC, new roof, windows, walls, anything on the exterior that's building envelope is covered as a capital improvement under Section 179. So imagine if I bought that property, that nursing home. Let's say that I got the seller's insurance to pay for the roof and the inside as they should. And I got the insurance benefits from the seller to pay for that roof.
Yeah.
I still get to deduct under Section 179 the roof that I didn't pay for, that her insurance company did, because the rule on that is it's a capital improvement. I don't actually have to expense it.
Wow.
I have to put it into service.
Oh.
And I can also write off the disposal of the old roof,
Wow.
which adds another $300,000 or $400,000. It's a massive tax deduction.
Yeah.
Maybe there's windows. I mean, I never got into the property, look at everything else, but there might be other things on the exterior building envelope. There, if you look at a tax deduction, I just got $1 million tax deduction for something I didn't pay for.
Wow.
Which I can apply to now other parts of my business. It's probably one of the largest tax loopholes in commercial building history. Hopefully they extend it. I think it's going up for vote again. It was passed in 2018 back under the Trump tax code. But a lot of people didn't understand how it applied to capital improvements. But check it out. If you're in a commercial building space, that Section 179 is an amazing tax deduction because to rebuild it was. I think the reason they put it out there was to encourage people to improve their properties in a commercial space, spend money in the economy. It's a great tax deduction. It just happens to apply in a situation I just said in a lucrative manner for the buyer of the property if you understood the deduction.
Right. And definitely, you can also use that, those funds that you're saving there from your deductions to put into other properties. A lot of different things, and do consult with your tax attorney because
I'm not a tax guy.
we're just speaking from experience.
Well, a lot of them, they usually go, "Wow, I didn't read that." Because tax code is like it's a mile high,
and that always changes
every 4 years. They look into it and go, "Wow, Anthony, you're right. Thank you. I'm going to help. This is going to help a lot of my clients." Take a look at it. It's a real deal.
That was my gold nugget right there.
It's too bad it didn't apply to residential. That would really help some people out.
As far as like when you started, you worked in your basement. That's what I read in your bio, and then you built the business to $173 million.
Well, 173 million was a run rate over
12 years.
10 years.
Wow.
Okay, count the first 2 years off. It was technically 12 years, but it's basically a 10-year run. So it was a $15 to $17 million roofing restoration construction company.
Yeah.
So when we say built 170, it was a combined rate. So I don't want anybody to watch this. 173 million in 1 year. Whoa. Over a 10-year period, it was 173 million. We averaged, some years it was 10 million, 15, 20 million. The moving average is about 13 to 15 million over 10 years.
That's amazing. From your basement. So
was there somewhere?
Thank you for that inspiration. There's hope. So what did you have like any one connection that maybe still is in the back of your mind that changed your wealth building game? And how can our listeners find out more?
There's different mentors. I think the biggest one probably, when I got out of the military, I went to, I got the 4-year degree in college. Then I realized the job market sucked for 4-year degrees. I'm like, that's what I went overseas for the Army College. So I applied to the grad school. I got my MBA from the University of Minnesota. Got out, and I did get the corporate job, up in St. Paul, Minnesota. I was a marketing manager for Ecolab.
Wow.
Which is a $2.5 billion publicly traded company, and our headquarters are in St. Paul, Minnesota. So I did the corporate America thing out of college for 3 years. And you get stuck in that mindset a little bit, and it's it was a decent salary at the time. In fact, I don't know, it was 65, 70 at the time, which I don't know what MBAs are making now, but probably not much more based on what I'm hearing. But W-2, the Uncle Sam takes they're big, 36 You know, you got state tax. I mean, you're really left with like 40.
Yeah.
Trying to pay off 30 grand
Mhm.
credit card debt, $80,000 in graduate school loan debt.
Mhm.
The Army College Fund didn't cover
Mm.
the expense of grad school.
Yeah.
They covered the undergrad. So I realized I was going to have to live very skinny for 10 years. And that's when I got the entrepreneurial itch.
Mhm.
And I think at that time, it was difficult for me to think about quitting my job that I worked so hard for in school. And it was a safety net.
Mhm.
And getting out of that, what I call the W-2 safety net, and understanding that what is the world of 1099 independent contractor. So I jumped out of that and got into sales in the storm restoration construction space, of which, by the way, I had absolutely zero experience.
What?
I just like sales and marketing.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're so good at
And
it.
then got real good when I started seeing the checks. And then
Yeah.
eventually quit my job.
Wow.
Went full 1099, which is 100% commission as a top sales producer
Yeah.
in the roofing and restoration space.
Wow.
You know, I think by that second year, I did about $500,000 in sales commissions
Wow.
in 1099. So you'd imagine jumping from
60.
salary of 70, take home 40. All of a sudden, you jump a year and a half later, you got 400,000 sales commission. So 3.2 million, and that's when I got the first taste of what you call independent financial freedom or success. It was a large chunk of money for me. I'd never made that much money before, so that got the entrepreneurial bug going again. And then I've said, well, I'm not going to be a salesperson forever. I want to become an owner entrepreneur.
Mm.
And then we got my general contractor license, started understanding codes and construction, and eventually got licenses in multiple states and opened up brick and mortar.
Wow.
But that experience started in sales. I could have never went from being a W-2 wage earner to owning a construction company. So I started in sales to understand how to create revenue for an industry that was interesting to me.
Yeah.
And then learning how to make money and seeing money other than W-2, you learn a lot in the 1099 world, like how to write off tax deductions,
Yes.
even as a salesperson. And I thought, wow, this is a great space, much better than what I was, because I was kind of stuck in a rut. And there were some mentors along the way. I mean, there was one guy that I was, another ex-military buddy of mine, his name was Vance Lukey, and he had actually dropped out of grad school to go be a telemarketer at a mortgage company. And I thought he was crazy. And I don't know if you remember when the mortgage industry was about to take off. It was back in 97, 96. 2 years later, he's running a mortgage company of his own in multiple states. And I went and visited him. So I was still at Ecolab. And I'm like, he goes, yeah, it's all about entrepreneurship, Anthony. He goes, you should have followed me. And I'm like, yeah, I should have. And I kind of, you go through that. Now you're kind of jealous of your friend. And that's not why I went to the other industry, but the wheels start turning. I mean, there's always other opportunities. Sometimes you just got to be willing to take the risk and step into them. And it's okay to start in sales in a new industry, and sometimes that's your ticket up into understanding an industry. Really, you should start in sales in any new industry. That's where it's at.
Definitely can see Anthony's entrepreneurial spirit as just take the risks and dive right in, even when you've never had experience in that. And I'm inspired by that. So we're all about to wrap it up, but what is one takeaway, one gold nugget that for you guys first? Do you have any takeaways? You can comment below. And for Anthony now, what's one gold nugget that you have for our listeners for the fix and flip journey?
Specifically fix and flip entrepreneurs. I would just encourage you, whoever's watching this, if you're in a fix and flip space, turn on the news. There's storms of catastrophic events erupting all over the place. I don't care where you're at in the country. Florida's obviously a hotbed for hurricanes.
Yeah.
The Midwest is a hotbed for tornadic activity and hail.
Yeah.
The West Coast is fires. So if you're a fix and flipper, start understanding what's going on with these storms and catastrophic events.
Yeah.
They damage properties to the tune of $100 billion a year paid out by insurance carriers, both commercial and residential. Understand that there is an assignment of claim legal instrument that you can use in a real estate purchase agreement offer that can allow you to get the benefits of that seller. And there are motivated sellers after these storms that do not want to stay in their property. Some of them do, and some of them don't. If they don't want to, they want to get the heck out of there. And they don't understand the assignment of claim. So if you understand those things, you should see that there's an incredible opportunity, again, not just here in Florida, but all over the country, to use this kind of knowledge to go out and get a good deal on properties and help a seller move on to greener pastures and help the community recover faster. And I think that's the best nugget I can give you in the rehab and flip.
Thank you. I definitely definitely have gained also a little confidence because I didn't really understand before, like, why would someone sell their property for less than market value? But now being firsthand, seeing him in action and the people around speaking through their experience, it gave me that little bit of knowledge and also confidence to say, hey, it's actually very possible when you have the right people and the right team in place. So you can reach out to Anthony, and this leads us to, where do people connect with you?
Well, that's a good one. You want my phone number?
Yes, what is it?
If you really need help, send me a text. I get a lot of calls from the fix and flip lenders, actually. They call me nonstop. But if you really need help, send me a text. 847-899-7089. Say you saw my podcast or her podcast, and you got some questions in the space. I'll reach back out to you. But if you call, I probably won't answer.
Yeah.
I can give you the company number. You'll never get through to me that way. I can give you the website. I probably won't see them, but that's the best way. But send a text, don't call.
Okay. And we'll put that down also in the comment section below. If you have any questions, you could also comment below or send Anthony a text.
It's pretty funny. My cell phone blows up. How many fix and flippers you got out there watching?
Or all the offers for this really
Oh yeah, you're allowed to make an offer on the
property. Yeah.
Before it goes.
I really would love to keep it, but I know he's going to have many bigger things, adventures that we look forward
Remember the
to.
number, you can't fall in love with your fix and flip.
Oh no.
Which I already did here.
I know. So that was one lesson, but it's hard to not fall in love with your own, projects and the sweat and tears that you put into it. Made it just such
You're making me not want to sell it now.
Oh no, don't sell it. But thank you everyone for joining Wealth Connections Live, and you can definitely share this and reach out to Anthony for any questions, or if you're ready for a fix and flip project, you can also reach out to him.
Just have your credit card ready before I call you. Just kidding. That's a joke.
That's right. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. You've got my co-host Jay Maude there at MVG Studios at the Speakeasy Lounge with the amazing Anthony Delmedico. These are our two power players, and Anthony is certainly a power player, and we're so lucky to have him on our show today. Thank you, Anthony, for coming on our show. We're really grateful.
Thanks for having me.
And grateful for your training, and we're excited to do big things with you going forward as well. So, guys, you've got to, if you've ever thought about doing any kind of real estate investment, especially fix and flips and things of that nature, or if you need some marketing help with your business, make sure you reach out to Anthony. We'll make sure his website is listed, and I just got his phone number. We'll get that posted as well. These are just two amazing people. Let me tell you about Anthony. This guy has a huge heart. He's a military veteran like me. He served the country in some pretty nasty places, and he's like a big teddy bear, and he's got a huge heart for helping people. So you can't ask for a bigger man.
Don't tell him that.
Yeah. So are you guys interested in giving a tour of your facility here or anything else before we shut things down?
You certainly, if you want to show, you want to spend.
Yeah, you guys are mobile, yeah. So feel free to take a walk around and show people around. I'll just back down for a minute here, get you full screen.
Let's see, there's Anthony.
All right, what do we want to see? This is actually this is a podcast set. It's designed as it's also a cigar bar lounge. That's where we're just sitting is actually a podcast set, but it's actually also a fully functional bar for events.
Mm-hmm.
We have this is still set up for boot camp. It's a green room, so we do shoots in here for clients. This is a boardroom space. I actually work here quite a bit. And then we got a full stage up here. So we do our boot camp, we slide all this back. We can fit 100 people in here seated. Over here we got a kitchenette. Which everything's downhill, so it serves as a kitchenette for a boot camp. You can also roll it all up, customize that set for some kind of shooting for our clients. We do a lot of film and digital marketing. A lot of contractors come to me for stuff. So guys in the contracting industry for campaigns. These are different online campaigns I do for, building material suppliers, contractors, lawyers. So Sometimes they're B2B, B2C. But that's something I do in marketing and we call it the digital marketing space, lead generation, and brand building space. So we do that for a lot of business clients. Like people in the contracting space come to me for a lot of that stuff. So if you want to see the outside, we give you a sneak peek of the log cabin over here. So right outside of the helicopter here, or studio, is the log cabin. It's the log cabin where you stored. It's a 4-acre property. So although it's a cool studio, we're literally out here in the middle of nowhere in Fort Myers. So
I think it froze a little bit. We lost the internet right here.
that's all right.
Okay. Now we're back. Yep.
Now we're back.
All right.
So you go from farm to studio.
Awesome.
Yeah, this property we just listed 3 weeks ago. So it's a unique buyer. It's a unique buyer that wants to have a space like this. Somebody call it a man cave, or a studio space or a workspace. And then you got the historic log cabin, and you're right here next to Pine Shadows Air Park.
Nice.
In North Fort Myers. So it's a nice, quiet place to work. Let me tell you, if you want to focus and get some stuff done, and you definitely don't need an office. We get another office out back right behind the studio here that has 3 more workstations. So it's a nice spot for an entrepreneur that wants to get away.
That's amazing, guys. Thank you so much for giving us a tour of your hangar there and talking to us about how you rehab that place. That's an amazing place that I know that Jay and I would love to have for our broadcasts and for our events that we're building. We're working on that. So thank you again for having us on your show. We're super grateful for you guys. And man, ladies and gentlemen, Anthony Delmedico, he's a great mentor for real estate and fix and flip and building a business in general. He's built several businesses, and you just can't ask for a bigger heart to help you in this stuff. So make sure you reach out to him. And remember, all it takes is mindset, mission, moves, and mentorship. So make sure you have the right mentorship. This is a gamified podcast. As you can see, we have a couple of coins up above. One of them is Anthony's coin. We coin all of our speakers. And if you write the serial number down on that coin, how we're gamifying this podcast is you collect coins of the serial numbers or even take screenshots of the coins. And as you accumulate coins from watching our show, you'll be able to redeem those coins for discount on insider networking branded products on our new website and services and training on our new website at insidernetworking.com that we're working on launching over the next week. So make sure you document his serial number. That's S1E22. That's Anthony Delmedico. Make sure you write down that serial number so that you have his coin. There's a couple other coins you get for watching as well. We're going to give you a surprise coin for our last speaker, internet marketing sales ninja Jay Lee. His coin is, one second, let me get that number up on the screen, S1E11. That's S1E11. And you'll also be able to utilize the founder coins. That's a coin for Jay, our co-founder, and her coin is just co-founder 1. And my coin is co-founder 2. So there's a couple coins for you to get you started. Make sure you watch all of our shows. If you share our show, we will actually follow up with you. Find that you made that share. We'll give you some bonus coins that you can redeem for insider networking products and services of the future. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching our show. We're super grateful to have you on episode 2 of Wealth Connections Live. Connect with us in the future so that we can help you to prosper and build wealth and connections that'll change your life. Much love to you. Have a great day.
Thank you for joining, everyone.
Yep. Thank you for joining Wealth Connections Live. Join us next time to discover how you can connect with your dream clients, convey your message, and multiply your success with live, actionable, and straight from the heart content. Connect, thrive, and multiply. Turn your network into wealth. Much love to all of you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you soon.